Welcome back to The Book Stop. I'm so excited to talk about today's episode. Fair warning moving forward, this podcast does contain spoilers as we go over major events within the novels. Before we get into it, don't forget to follow us on Apple, Spotify, and Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast. But yeah, we are back. The one and only Kim. Say hi, Kim.
Oh, please hold your applause, please.
It's good to be back. You know, it's good to be back on this glorious month of Pride. I'm super excited to jump into it. I actually suggested this book. We're going to talk about The Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. So she was born in Jerusalem, and she moved to South California pretty young, and she graduated from Yale. She worked in copywriting, journalism, and a little bit of special effects makeup, which is kind of cool. And she has a lot of TV shows too. I didn't realize that she has a lot of specials from the books that she's wrote. I believe this world that this book takes place in is a TV show. Shadows and Bones is what it's called.
Yeah.
And that's an actual TV show.
Yeah, it's Shadows and Bones. Yeah, okay, so I didn't even know that. I knew that the show came out and that people were talking about it and it was hype. And then you and I read this book and I literally didn't even look at the covers, I guess. And somebody mentioned to me, they were like, oh, Six of Crows. Yeah, that's one in the series. And I was like, wait a minute. We're just reading a book in the middle of this series. And I freaked out for a second because I was like, I'm not going to know the context. But yeah, I think The Shadow and Bone is a trilogy that takes place before this. And then this book and one right after it are a duology.
Yeah, I know.
Duology.
I got you. But yeah, we're going to play a little game to get us started. You are going to summarize this book in 30 seconds. But, twist, you have to summarize it as if you were a person selling this book. Like a merchant selling this book.
Oh my god, okay.
So you have 30 seconds to try to sell this book. If you were on the streets selling it.
Shit. It's Ocean's 11 meets Peaky Blinders meets kind of Harry Potter and with a dash of Twilight. But it's a dash of the good parts of Twilight. You know when you get the comfy romantic parts? It's that. And everyone's 12 years old in this book. They're 17, but they're 12 years old in this book. And there's drug abuse. There's a drug. And the heist is that they're trying to get the guy who made the drug so that they can stop all the bad drug stuff from happening. Yeah, it's, about 12-year-olds and drugs. Good summary. I would buy that book. Amazing.
But yeah, I think that was pretty good. I think you took a lot of aspects that are not necessarily something I would have thought about, like the Twilight, for example, but I like to see how you thought of it. So I'm just going to summarize really quick for anybody that doesn't know anything about this book, like me. So this book, it takes place in Ketterdam, a bustling hub of international trade where anything can be bought for the right price. Kaz Becker is offered a chance at a deadly heist that would make him rich beyond his wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone, relying on a convict, a sharpshooter, a runaway, a spy, a magical Grisha, and a thief. Kaz's crew is the last thing that might stand between the world and destruction, if they don't kill each other first. So, I guess to kind of jump right into this book. Mm-hmm. I have been recommended this book a bunch of times, and it's been on my shelf. I bought this book forever ago, and it's been on my bookshelf for a while, and I've been wanting to read it so much because every time I see it, everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's so good. The romances are everything. There's a gay romance in it. And I'm going to say it. This was queer baited to me.
Yes.
Because, absolutely. Because I've seen everything talking about how, okay, for starters, there is a gay relationship in this book, but it doesn't happen. Nothing happens in this one. There is a tiny little thing of flirting, but other than that, there's no LGBT sort of relationship in it. So I would consider this book to be almost queer baiting.
Yeah.
The way that it was presented to me was anyways.
That's fair.
And it wasn't just my friends. It was social media and literally type Six of Crows and it'll pop up and it'll say LGBT book. But I think it's more like Crooked Kingdoms, the second book in the series. That one would be more considered LGBT type.
Yeah? Do you know what that focuses on? Like what it focuses on?
It happens like after everything happens, and I do know at the end that the two people do get together.
Spoilers.
I'm sorry. Good. They know there's spoilers in this podcast, so they're good. But like you said, this is kind of like in the middle of the series. So I didn't know that. I didn't know anything about the series when I jumped into it. So I didn't know there was a whole other error in this story that this kind of picks up on, and I would like to know more of the lore, but at the same time, I don't know if I do.
I will compliment the author on the fact that despite that this book is still somewhat in a larger series, I was able to read it on my own and understand. Like, obviously there were some words that it was like, oh, what is this, what is that, because of the world building, but you still can understand it from context, so you don't really need ample background. And as far as like our main characters, she introduces them well enough to where it doesn't, like, if I had also known the characters beforehand, I feel like it wouldn't be overkill the way that she introduces them, but it is a helpful way to start a new character, you know?
Yeah, I definitely give applause to Bardugo for her writing style is very good. I really enjoyed the way that she created tension, the way that she introduced characters, the way that she introduces the powers, and the way that there was different points of views. Like, I really like her writing style. I think that she did a great job describing things, but there was a lot of things that I didn't like.
I also did enjoy it, but there are things that I was like, maybe not.
I really liked the beginning. I think it was a very strong beginning, especially if you don't know what's going on, what the world is like. So the powers, for example, threw me for a complete loop. I didn't have a single clue that there was powers within here. So the powers are coming from the Grisha, and they have different kinds of powers. So Nina has the ability to control emotions, and there was what is the girl at the very beginning? She was a healer. Anya.
Yeah. I know we talk about our favorite line in this. Can I sidestep on the topic of Anya and talk about my favorite line?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's early on in chapter 1, which doesn't really relate to the rest of the story, but it was still good. Early on, chapter 1, there's this little character, Juiced, who's like a guard for this mansion, whatever. He's like a kid, and he's like, and I'm going to be a good guard someday. I'm going to be a captain, whatever. And he has a crush on this girl, Anya, who's basically like enslaved at this mansion because of her powers. Anyways, he has a crush on this girl named Anya. And there's this line where he's like thinking about how he's going to try and compliment her next time he sees her. And he's like, oh, if only Anya's eyes were blue like the sea or green like an emerald. Instead, her eyes were only brown. Lovely. Dreamy, melted chocolate brown, rabbit fur brown. And he's like trying to think of, like, that's the line. And I don't know, I love it because it's kind of like it's almost the author's way of making fun of how like idealized blue eyes are and like green eyes and stuff. And it's also interesting because, like, fun fact about myself, I am particularly attracted to people with brown eyes. I don't know why, but like, and thankfully there's a lot of people with brown eyes. So like when I see like people with like blue eyes and green eyes, it's not like a negative for me, obviously, but like I just don't idealize it as much as I think like certain things tend to do. So I liked that this was like something where he was like, oh, she has really pretty brown eyes, and like, how do we describe that kind of thing?
Yeah.
It's just a fun little, it's not really an important line, but I just liked it.
Brown eyes are not typically something that you see a lot in like books, especially because, like, you know, they always talk about their eyes. And yeah, I did notice that too. It did stand out. And then he started talking about, didn't at the end he said that her skin was like the shade of moonlight or something like that.
Yeah. He was like,
he started going
her
off
skin's
that.
like moonlight.
Yeah. That's a good one. I actually have two favorite quotes. The first one's kind of short, and I think this is a very popular favorite quote for a lot of people. So this is at the beginning with our, I would consider him like the main character because he's like the mastermind behind this whole thing. Yeah, Kaz.
Yeah.
So this is from him, and he says, "When everyone knows you're a monster, you needn't waste time doing monstrous things."
Yes. that was another choice that I had for my
Mm-hmm.
favorite line, but I was like, everyone's gonna choose that. But so
Yeah,
good.
it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite. It is something that stood out to me that I had to stop the book and re-listen to it like a couple times because I was like, okay, yes. And I think that's kind of the moment where everyone kind of fell for Kaz and was like, okay, I kind of want to, I feel for him. I want to be on his side. And also kind of like a really good quote to be in like a Green Day song. Or
Okay, yes. Yes. I don't know what made you think of that, but yes.
it would be good. Or like a Fall Out Boy song. Something like it would definitely be a good lyric.
Yeah, some kind of like solid
Yeah.
pop punk for sure.
So this is my actual favorite quote. So a little background before I say it. So there's two characters. There's Nina and Mateus. We'll call them that during the pod, but this is them when they're having their whole arc and their whole story plot.
Ugh.
But I know we're gonna get into it. But there is one line that really stood out for me. So this would definitely be my favorite line in the book. So it's a bit long, so bear with me. Matt says, Nina, has it ever occurred to you that maybe you weren't meant to exist? Nina's eyes glinted with green fire. And then she says, maybe you're the one that shouldn't exist. Weak and soft with your short lives and sad little prejustice. You worship wood sprites and ice spirits who can't bother to show themselves. But when you see real power, you can't wait to stamp it out. So Nina is the Grisha that has the ability to control moods, and they're technically called like witches. Basically, they're in the book. They're kind of like witches, and Matt is a witch hunter, and he kidnaps her, and they are on this boat. The boat sinks, and they have to be together for 3 weeks to survive because they're in the middle of this like ice kingdom. And, you know, they fall in love, all this thing. And, yeah, he has this, like, you know, this fear against her because he doesn't trust her. And I just really like that line because Matt's also, like, religious. And that's why he doesn't, you know, trust these witches that are, like, against natural powers. So,
yeah. Okay. On the topic of, like, that quote, too.
Mm-hmm.
And just like the book in general, I really like, you can tell the author is female. And I say that because anytime the women in this book are like experiencing sexism and discrimination and stuff, they fight back so well and so in character, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times if you have like a book written by a man, not all the time, but a lot of times if you have a book written by a man and you have a character who's a woman fighting back against sexism, it just seems very like forced into the box of strong female character. So like, you know, if it was written by a dude, it'd be like, this woman's walking along and a man says something mean and she goes, not today, sir, and puts her hands on her hips and walks away. Strong female character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You know, people who read a lot, we understand what I'm saying by that. Yeah. But I do think that this book does a really great job of the women addressing sexism and discrimination in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I just really like the women in this story, like Inej and Nina and Anya in the beginning. Like, they're all very well written, and they all the characters have their own backgrounds and stuff. But I find that the women have like the harsher backgrounds, and I think that really makes them more of a solid character and they have more of a focus and a drive within the story.
Yeah, they feel like people.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, yeah. Not that the men don't. They also... Kaz has a very traumatic backstory, but I don't know. I just felt more connected with the women of the story.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to talk about the powers and the whole like plot of the story because we didn't really get into it. Basically the plot of the story is Kaz is this mastermind criminal prodigy, and he is giving this heist to break out this guy from jail. His name is Bo Yulbeyer. Sorry if I say it wrong. We'll call him Bo. So Bo is this inventor that made this pill that's called Jurda Param, and it gives the ability for these Gershas to be able to be like times 10, like ghost mode. Like, they are extremely strong, and this is why the guy that pays Kaz to do it wants to kind of get him out so that way no one else can get him to make these more of these pills. And so Kaz makes this whole team of people, and while this is happening, they're also only like 16, 17.
Yeah.
I forget that constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're in their 30s at least. And then they're like,
yeah.
I'm 16.
In my copy of the book, there's a brief interview with the author at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about the ages of the characters. And she also mentions, she's like, yeah, you know, it sometimes feels that they're older than they are, but the circumstances that they grew up in kind of age you naturally.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like many people throughout life, you'll meet people who are more mature than their age
mm-hmm.
for unfortunate reasons. So it's kind of like that same concept. But yeah, I totally agree. They're like 17 or whatever throughout the whole thing. But because of their circumstances, because of what they have to do and what they've experienced, it's like they're just significantly more mature and aged.
Yeah. So Kaz is 17, Inej is 16, Nina 17, Matt is 18, Jesper is 17, and Wylan is 16.
Why do I feel like Wylan is so much younger?
I know, he does feel a lot younger. But yeah, he is 16. Mateus is the oldest at 18. But yeah, I found the ages, like, I have to, like, keep reminding myself that they were that young.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't really necessarily ruin the story at all. The only thing I didn't like about the ages was that their backstories kind of felt rushed at some parts. They wanted to fit too much in, and then you have to remember, oh, they're only 17, so this must have happened when they were like 6 to be able to fit all this stuff in.
Yeah.
Or everything happened in like a week. I swear. But yeah, back to the plot. So he is making this group of people, and a lot of them have vendettas against each other, and they slowly are being revealed. So they're going to this place called the Ice Court, which is this very high security prison to break out Bo.
It's like Azkaban.
Yeah, but probably like worse. Like, it's really bad. Like,
Yeah.
No one's ever been able to get in, let alone get out. So the whole book is about them, you know, collecting all the team members and then getting in and then getting out. And, you know, in the end, there was this whole thing. Didn't the inventor get away? Oh, no, he died. The inventor ended up dying. And so they took the inventor's son to the person that was paying Kaz. And it was this whole thing. So,
yeah.
But I want to, like, jump into, like, our favorite characters. So I really liked Kaz as a character. I think that his story, like, with his fear of touch was really good. I thought his limp was really cool. His limp was cool. You know, he had his own, I really liked his backstory with his brother and how Pika Rollins.
Yeah. Who betrayed him?
Yeah.
Basically.
He betrayed him, and it ended up with, like, his brother dying. And yeah, he had a very interesting story. But I think my favorite character would probably have to be Nina.
Yeah?
I was between her or Kaz, but I think Nina is my favorite. She's just like, I don't know, she's really smart. She's very sassy. I love a sassy woman. She's very resourceful. Probably the strongest one on the team, not gonna lie. She's the one that has the powers, so.
True.
And she's very compassionate. I think in the next book, she's gonna have a closer relationship with everyone on the team. Like, I think she's gonna have a special connection with all of them. And I feel like she's just, I don't know, she's just really mentally and physically strong. So, slay queen.
True. Damn right.
So who is your favorite?
Honestly, it's a little bit lame to say that the main character is my favorite, but I really do think Kaz is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
He was just so fascinating from the moment that we met him and then all the way through.
Yeah.
And like, he goes through, I don't know, it feels like he doesn't go through like super big character changes, but that's okay. He goes through like little minor bits and then set back and then minor development and then set back. But to me, that feels more realistic too.
Yeah.
So like, I appreciate that. It does bother me though that he's still like making the same dumb boy mistakes with Inej.
Yeah.
Where he's like clearly he likes her. Like just shut up and make a move or whatever. But
he is 17. You gotta remember that.
He is 17.
He does have a fear of touching
yeah.
people, so he does have that going on for him.
That is totally valid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Kaz too. I think he's very witty, and I think the moment where I was like, okay, was when he did that whole, this is the very beginning where he does that whole, like, shootout.
Yeah.
At the very beginning. Who was he with? That one weird guy that he was like...
On his team or the other side?
The other side, when he was like, I'm gonna send somebody to your wife's house and burn it down, and...
Oh, yeah.
At the very beginning.
I think that guy's name was Giels?
Giels, yeah.
Or Greels or something?
Yeah, I think it's Giels.
Giels?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that part. And I was like, yes, King.
That was great. That whole scene was great too in so many ways because A, it introduces you to characters in a lot of ways. And it's like a fun little action scene. And it's like a mini heist within the heist.
Yeah.
So it really gears you up to be like, you want to know what this book is about? It's a magical heist. Get ready. Here's a little taste. You're not ready.
Oh, gosh.
I want to talk about what I mean when I said earlier that there's bits of Twilight in this book,
okay.
Which I think you can also go off on a little bit because, like we said like a minute ago, how all of these characters are mature beyond their years. Mm-hmm. Yes. At the same time, no. There's still like kind of like what I mentioned with Kaz and like his immaturity surrounding his feelings for Inej and like doing anything about it. I don't know. It felt like most of these characters had some classic Twilight type conundrums, which I guess I could now like modernize that metaphor and I could say that they had some classic Bridgerton type conundrums where it's just like, I wish that I could just give these people like relationship advice.
Yeah. And life advice and...
Yeah. And life advice.
A lot of advice.
And a hug.
And a hug. And some cookies.
Yeah. And some cookies. Yes.
If you want to know more about Twilight and what Kim has to think about it, we did do a Twilight podcast, so go listen to it. I think maybe there should have been a vampire or two in the story, and then I would kind of follow along a little bit better, but...
For sure. Something
I did also really like that Bardugo did was the different connections between each person, and I really liked the way that the conversations flowed. They didn't feel like too immature, but they also didn't feel like too mature. I feel like they talked late teens, and a lot of them, I don't know, I just really liked the way that the flow was. I think they all were, weirdly, like all of the characters fit each other like a puzzle piece. They all like were very connected in a cool way, and not all of them were positive ways, but it worked really well with the story. So what would you say is your favorite relationship in the story? Let's do a favorite relationship and a least favorite relationship.
Yeah.
Let's do both. Let's twist it up. What's your favorite relationship?
I've thought about this a lot, and I've just changed my mind about a second ago. Honestly, I'm not sure if I like this relationship or not. I don't know. I love-hate relationship, but favorite as far as it's fascinating to read.
The suspense.
Nina and Matt.
Okay. That's your favorite? Okay, why?
Yeah, I think, so the last book that you and I read together, my favorite relationship was also for the same reason, I guess, because I don't want to get too much background, but it was just a rocky relationship, pun intended.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think the relationship between like Matt and Nina is interesting because, you know, obviously like the background of like they were on opposite sides of everything and then they kind of had to come together but then they kind of got sort of on different tracks and
for like a misunderstanding. So
I don't know, and I think that's why I like it. I like it because it's weird because they're from different places and because things are difficult for them. But it seems that there's just this like string, this Taylor Swift invisible string between them, you know, like tying them together, and I love that.
Okay, I think their connection is very good, but I don't like their relationship. I don't know. I don't think that they are good for each other. Maybe in the second one, Matthias gets a little bit better and his attitude changes. And I know it started to towards the end of the book, but it wasn't enough that I want to see them in a relationship together. I feel like there's just too much beef. And I think the connection that they have was kind of, I don't know, almost manipulated. You know, they think that they're in love, but they're really not. I think they're just too young, and they were so worried about survival, and that took over. So they were like, well, this is the last person I'm going to be with because I'm going to die. So I'm going to fall in love with her. And then, you know, when they got back to civilization, she turns him in, and he thinks it's because she's betraying him, but really she was doing it to save his life because he's a witch hunter in the city that they came to. Witch hunters aren't like allowed there or something like that.
Right. So really quickly, this is what I mean by like Bridgerton / Twilight relationship problems. Communication, people. Communication. Yeah. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, and that's Nina's whole purpose of being on this heist is so that she can get Matt out of jail. And that's why she wants to be part of this. And Matt is only part of this because he knows the interior of the ice court, and he knows every nook and cranny. So that's the only reason why he's there. I don't know. I personally didn't love Nina and Matthias. I see where you're coming from. I do like their connection and their backstory. But relationship-wise, I didn't love it.
Yeah. I definitely see where you're coming from. You make a lot of very valid points. I will say, I think the problem with their relationship is more just a problem with Matt in general than it is like, I mean, you know, who knows how the sequel goes. Maybe Matt has some genuinely rich character development and becomes more worthy of Nina. He has
a lot of room to grow. A lot of room. Yeah. And that's why I'm kind of like excited to see where it goes, because I think if I get more context of the relationship being good, because he doesn't deserve Nina. Nina is everything. Yeah. Okay? She is the rock of the story. And I think that if he does grows, then I will give him a shot with being with Nina. But that's I need fair. To see a lot, okay?
Yeah, that's fair.
My favorite relationship is, so this connection isn't necessarily in it a ton. It happens like once or twice, but I really like Nina and Inej.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think, I don't know, I just really like that they were the only two girls in the group, so I feel like Nina felt particularly like connected to her. I don't know, I just really like it. I get like a big sister, little sister vibe from them.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm pretty sure Nina is bi.
Oh my god.
And I can also see that. I don't know, I definitely got some bi vibes from Nina. It was just the way that she was like talking about Inej.
Pride Month.
And that actually, since we're talking about relationships, I want to talk about the thing that kind of makes this book a queer book is that, so Jesper is Kaz's like best friend. He's the sharpshooter, so he's really good with like guns and stuff like that. I don't know anything about guns, but and so he's a bi character in the story, and he eventually, spoiler alert, ends up with Wylan, who is the son of the guy that offers Kaz's the money. He's like the runaway son. Yeah, his dad was like, you'll never be my heir to my business, because he has dyslexia. So he doesn't know how to read very well. So his father was like, or he didn't love him anymore, so he had to run away. So anyways, so yeah, Jesper and Wylan eventually get together, and it's just disappointing. I honestly thought that Jesper and Kaz were going to get together. I thought Kaz was the main character and that he was gay. Mm-hmm. So that's why I thought this was going to be like an LGBT book, because I thought the main character was going to be gay.
Or like beautiful love triangle between Kaz, Inej, and Jesper. Would have loved it.
That would be good too. That would have been really good. Because at the beginning he said that Kaz will do anything for Jasper and the other way around. Like they're very close. So I was like, perfect. Cute. I like Kaz. Jasper is really cool. But no, it did not work that way. He started talking about Inej and I was like, wait, hold on. It threw me for a loop. Because I really thought he was going to be the gay one. But he was not. So it's just really sad. I know in the next book that they do eventually get together.
I mean, in the meantime, I will be reading fan fiction about that ship. So
which one?
That'll satisfy me enough. Which one? Whichever one has the highest word count and has been updated recently. Let's be real.
Okay. Sounds good. That sounds good. Okay.
Question.
Yeah.
Cuddle, marry, kill, Inej, Kaz, Jesper. What are your choices?
Ah, dang it. I thought you were going to put Nina there. I'm going to marry Kaz. I'll cuddle Inej, and I'll kill Jasper. Because I feel like I wouldn't be able to kill Inej. I couldn't do it. Because she's too slick. She's too slow.
True.
She would just get right out of my grasp. So I wouldn't even have a chance.
She'd just slip away.
So I'll just get a chance to cuddle her for 2 seconds, and then she'll be like, I'm outie. What about you? Okay, you have to cuddle, kill, or marry Nina, Matty Boy, or Wylan.
Kill Matt.
Thank you.
Immediately. Kill Matt. Marry Nina, of course.
Obviously.
And cuddle Wylan.
Cute. Love it. Mm-hmm. So that wasn't actually part of our game. That was just a side one. So we're going to play our actual game now. So yeah, I want to see how well you know these characters. So I wrote an interesting fact about each one, and I want you to just kind of pick the right one. So, all right.
I got this.
To get you started, we're going to go a little easy here. Who is the best at lockpicking?
Jesper. That took me.
No.
What? What do you mean? No,
it's not. It's not Jesper.
What do you mean? No. We literally read the same scene where Jesper, like, takes metal off of the bars to lockpick the. What are you talking?
He's not the best at lockpicking.
Oh, okay.
He can lockpick, but he is not the best.
All right. I guess I was thinking of a loophole.
We'll go over all of your wrong answers after this. Okay. Trained. I'm speaking.
Jen, I love you so much. I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Was trained in acrobatics.
Inej.
Yes!
That's an easy one.
Has a gambling addiction.
Oh, Jesper. Yep. Poor boy.
Poor boy. Is an excellent mathematician and musician.
I should know this. And I don't. Wylan?
Yeah, Wylan.
Yeah, okay. I don't know why I was doubting myself. I was like, wait, was that also... Anyways, yes, Wylan. I knew it the whole time.
Okay, I'm sure you did. Has the inside knowledge of the ice court.
Oh, Matt.
Mm-hmm. And worked in the white brothel.
Nina, yes.
Yeah.
Why was I also doubting myself? I'm sorry.
I don't know. She was the last character.
I'm like, there's only one person left. Who could it be?
Who was it? So you got all of them right. So obviously Kaz was the best lockpicker. He always had lockpicks on them, and then when they were breaking in, he snuck the lockpicks in with his mouth, and he was able to
okay.
He was able to take the entire hinge off and put it back on before anyone notices when they got in the cart.
Wow, with just his mouth?
Yeah, well, Kaz, what do you expect? Inej, she was trained in acrobatics. Her family was into it. It's like a family.
Why did you say it that way?
They were part of a circus or something. They had a tightrope gig, and she worked on that. So that's why she's able to scale those big buildings and...
Like a boss.
Yeah, Slay Queen. Jesper has the gambling addiction, so that's why he's here. That's why he's part of the heist, because he needs money. Wylan is excellent at math because he can't read, and he finds numbers a lot easier to work with than words and letters. So Nina worked in the brothel for a long time. Oh no, I lied. She still worked it because that's where Cass picked her up from. She was working with a client.
Oh,
yeah. Another thing I want to talk about was I really thought Mateus was gonna screw them over at the end when he was pretending to be a traitor. I was like, oh, he's definitely gonna screw him over. And then he had that quick change of heart, ended up helping Nina in them. I was like, okay. I didn't see that coming.
I think that also because Kaz clearly has trust issues, all of them do, but definitely Kaz. I definitely think that Kaz was predicting Matt to turn on them in the kind of way that Pirates of the Caribbean has this really great quote where they're like, you should trust a bad guy because you always know that they're going to be a bad guy, but don't trust the good guy because you never know when they're going to do something stupid. In that kind of way where I think Kaz tends to not really trust the bad people more, but he tends to keep your friends close, enemies closer.
Yeah, I feel like that's why he kept trying to get as much information out of him as possible. He was getting every little thing that he could, just in case if something kind of backfired, then he didn't have to rely on him. Like, let's say when they left the things, I don't think he intended to have Matt with them when they left. I think that he was asking all these questions about, like, the forest and how to get through it because he didn't think he was going to come with them. So, I don't know. I really thought he was going to betray them, and I'm sitting here. I was literally sitting there, and I was like, this little guy.
This little mother. Yeah.
But he ended up not doing it. He tried to get some brownie points from me, but I was like, no, you need to do a little bit more.
True. Good.
Speaking of a little bit more, what do you think is going to happen in the next book? So the next one is called Crooked Kingdom. What do you think? What are some predictions that you have that's going to happen?
That is a really good question. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways it could go, especially knowing that this book was so, like, from different characters' point of views, that because Kaz was somewhat our main character in this one, it could totally be different in the next one. And I'm thinking it most likely will. There's like a preview of the next book in my book, but I didn't read it. I was like, I don't want to know. I don't know, but I'm sure that, like, Wylan has a bigger role because we didn't get too much of him in this one. And it seems like he deserves a bit more spotlight to see where he goes.
Yeah.
I just want to see a bit more of the world. I think we got a chunk of this world, but we didn't get anywhere else. So I guess, I don't know, if I had to make a random prediction of, like, what would happen in the next book, I would think that these guys would be, like, on the run.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So instead of, like, going towards doing a heist, they would be, like, on the run from big, powerful people who now know these guys, like, just broke into this place.
Right. And they also have the inventor's son who is working on making this drug again. And, like, he knows the secret of it. So I feel like, that people are going to be after them.
And that's another thing. So speaking of that, of the fact that, like, this drug still exists and, like, they know the way to make it and stuff. Like, it was very clear to me in the beginning of this book when they were like, here's our plan. We're going to get this guy so that they never make the drug again. And I was like, that's not going to work out. Even if you get the guy, someone knows how the drug is made and is going to make it again. Yeah, I mean, I guess the next book also has to deal with that very largely, and the fallout of, like, this drug still exists, and now people are going to be using it more widespread. Other people are going to be trying to, like, recreate it if they don't know how to make it. I don't know. I think that's just going to be a big thing about, like, all of these different Grishas having coked up powers, basically.
And then they also didn't get paid. That also has to be a thing. So I think I just want to see a lot more relationship building. Because they were all together because they had a job to do. And now they have to be together because they have to get paid. And now they have all of this responsibility on them. So I want to see how far it's going to push them. And what's going to bring them closer.
Oh, also Nina, because, like, at the end, Nina, like, took the drug, right?
Is addicted to it.
And she's addicted to it. I think she could turn into a villain character. And I love her, and I don't want that to happen. But I think it could happen because of the drug.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there anything, in your own opinion, anything that you would have done differently? Anything that you would have changed? Like, for example, I would have liked to see more world building, but at the same time, it's hard because this happened in the middle of a huge story. So that's on me. I should have just did a little bit more research. But yeah, I think in the next one, they just need to do a little bit more. They need to expand from their little, like, islands and move out and see how this drug is going to affect the big world. Because I want to see how much of the world has these powers and stuff.
Yeah.
And I also think they should have killed somebody in the first one.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
I think they should have killed, I don't mean, like, the scientist, I mean, like, a main character. Like, they should have killed...
Kaz.
No! How dare you?
I love him, but would that not have been excellently heartbreaking?
Yes. Okay, it would. But the story wouldn't continue. Because they can't live without him.
I mean, Inej could have totally taken over, but whatever.
I guess. But yeah, I feel like they should have killed somebody. Or, I know that she's addicted at the end, but I want somebody severely injured.
I get that.
So.
Yeah. You're just like, I want more pain. The irony is, like, when you were talking, I was like, you know what I want to see? What I would have done differently is I would have wanted more happiness. Like, I would have wanted more, like, cute, fluffy stuff with the characters. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we're going to get that in the second one. Because I know a lot of relationships happen in the second one. So, I think there's going to be a lot of sacrifice and a lot of secrets spilled. So.
Ooh.
Ooh. Is there any like last minute things you want to talk about? Anything that didn't come up that you want to go over?
I know there is a lot in this book, and I think we didn't get super detailed about it, but I'm okay with that.
There's so much. This book is like 13-15 hour audiobook. So this is a very deep book, and a lot of stuff happens. A lot of things are drawn out in detail. So yeah, we barely scratched the surface of this book. We just kind of talked about what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it. So if you are interested in listening to it, I recommend going on YouTube and just looking up Six of Crows. It's on there.
Yes.
So, but yeah, just kind of wrapping up the podcast. We're going to do a little rating system. So we do a little bit different here on the Book Stop. We kind of make up our own thing. I can go first if you want.
Yeah, go for it, because I don't remember how to do it.
Okay. So I would rate Six of Crows 2 lockpicks inside Kaz's mouth out of 6.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Wait, did you say 2 out of 6?
2 out of 6.
Why that low?
I don't know. I like the story, but I didn't like it. I don't know. Maybe this isn't really my type of story. I don't know.
Okay.
There was a lot of things I didn't like about it, and I was going to do like 2 out of 5. But I said 6.
I would love to go back and compare to what you rated Twilight, because if you rated Twilight higher than this, I'm going to fight you through the video screen.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it would have gotten a higher rating if I knew more about the world. I just felt very lost, and I felt it was hard for me to keep up with a lot of stuff.
That's fair.
So I just personally wasn't a huge fan. I also was queer baited, so that kind of brought down a couple pegs. So that's just my personal rating. 2 lockpicks out of Kaz's mouth out of 6. So what would you rate it?
I would rate it 4 melted chocolate brown eyes out of 6.
She got glasses on.
I guess my biggest gripe with this, a little bit of what you said of the world building. I would have loved to see more of the world. But honestly, my biggest gripe with this was kind of just like that the character names were hard to pronounce. And like,
yeah,
on one hand, that sounds very white of me. But on the other hand, it doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't seem like many of these words and character names are derivative of an existent culture. It seems like they're significantly more made up than they are taken from another culture. I could be wrong though. And it is on me to get the pronunciations since I have the wealth of the internet. So maybe that's just me giving like a really dumb complaint.
No, I agree. I did have a hard time with a lot of these names. If I didn't read listen to the audiobook, I wouldn't get anything. I wouldn't have any clue what they were saying.
Right.
Like, I definitely understand where you're coming from. I think if I would have had a better connection if I knew if this came from like a special language within the book, and then I can be like, okay, that makes more sense than just like random letters put into a sentence.
The Dune series has like a glossary in the back. If this would have had like a little glossary with like quick pronunciations, I think that would have helped.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, I did really like it overall. It was fun. It was an interesting new-ish concept. Some of the world building was a little bit typical, I guess, of fantasy books, but like in a good way. Like it wasn't like super unoriginal. It definitely was original, just familiar.
Yeah, I think if you took out the whole Powers Grisha thing, I think it would have felt like just a normal heist, like pirate vibe. I feel like the Grisha kind of threw it in a different direction than what I thought. Because like I said, I had no idea about this book, and when I found out that there was powers, I was very confused. I don't know, maybe a subplot. I don't know. I just didn't love that, and I love stories with like powers in it and like Avatar vibes, but I don't know, that it just really threw me off.
Yeah, maybe the next book will get more into the powers and the people with the powers and all of that.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the episode and reading this book and being here during Pride Month.
Yes, happy Pride. Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to be on your podcast. I love it. Guys, this is your first episode with the Book Stop. Welcome, and go check out every other episode and click that subscribe button or that follow button, whichever one it is.
Oh, thank you. And if you guys like Kim, she will be back. I want to say NaNoWriMo, November-ish time we'll be back. So just keep an eye out.
Hell yeah. Bye.
Thank you for turning the pages with us this week. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support on social media. Don't forget to turn on your notifications to get a reminder of the next episode. Thanks again for listening to The Book Stop. Bye!